is Kenneth Amechi, and I'm the Chief Economic Advisor to the Imo State government, a job I do on a part-time basis. But I'm a professor at the University of Edinburgh, where I hold a chair in sustainable business, and I'm also a chair at the European University Institute, where I'm a professor of sustainable finance. It's my pleasure to welcome all of you today. And we have an interesting session which will be on creative arts. And I will be co-moderating it with Dr. Jude Nzako, the DG, Imo State Investment Promotion Agency. So I invite Dr. Jude Nzako to say hello to our audience.
Good morning, audience. Dr. Jude Nzako, I'm glad to welcome you all. I hope today we're going to have a very interesting session. You're welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Jude. I also use the opportunity to invite the Honorable Commissioner for Special Duties, who is the host today, to introduce himself and say hello to the audience.
Yeah, you're all welcome. I am Chief Dr. Saoke Anukwem, the Commissioner for Special Duties in Imo State. I am an artist. I graduated from the University of Ife. I'm majored in graphics. And today we are here trying to discuss this topic that is of very vital importance to the people of Imo State. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner. So let me go straight to the panelists. Today is an interesting one because creative arts, some of those things that we always take for granted. So we are focusing specifically on paintworks or what artists do, what we consider artists. I mean, there are different dimensions. But let me invite Dr. Kelechi to introduce himself and talk us through what I may consider the landscape for this kind of activities.
Good morning, everybody. My distinguished fellow panelists. My name is Kelechi Opara. I teach at the Department of Fine and Applied Arts at Imo State University, Owerri. Also, by training, I'm also an historian and an art critic. So if to launch into the topic at hand, immediately we are looking at the creative arts. And I think because it's very vast, we have the performing arts, we have the literary arts, and we have the visual arts. But to keep our conversation focused or bounded, I think let's stick to the visual arts. And that would be the traditional genres of painting, sculpture, graphics, ceramics, and textile. And because art is very large, it's very huge, we'd also be looking at it from a liberal perspective so that it would sound too elitist. We are looking at the formal and the informal sector. The informal sector, we are looking at professionally trained artists, artists that had professional formal training in schools. But we also know that because art has something to do with creativity and every person has a bit of it, we'd consider those who are also in the creative area, but they are not formally trained. So we'll be talking about self-taught artists. We'll be talking about folk, the people they call folk or road artists, and we'll be talking about craftsmen. These are also artists. And there's a whole huge area that holds potentials for productivity and investment. I think I'll leave it at that and let some other person put it.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Kelechi Opara. Let me go straight to Uche Onumajulu. Uche, do you have anything to add to what you've had?
First of all, I strongly believe we are just doing it through, so we've not really dived into why we are here. So my name is Uche Norris Onumajulu. I'm a graduate of Fine Applied Art from the Institute of Management Technology in Enugu. I'm a practicing artist as we speak. Thank you.
Yes, I mean, in addition to that introduction, which is great. So is there anything you would like to add to what Dr. Kelechi Obara has said in terms of the spectrum of creative arts or the landscape?
Well, for me, there's not much to add because you have said it all. Let's just restrict ourselves to the main branches of fine and applied art, which is the painting, the ceramics, the sculpture, the textile, the graphics. I think if you limit ourselves to that, I think we will have a very robust discussion and a very productive one at that.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So let me move on to Michael Parrish. Michael, I hope I pronounced your name well. So do you want to introduce yourself? And on top of that, reflect on what you see as opportunity, because the essence of this program is to reveal opportunities in any topic we are exploring. And today we are looking at creative arts. And these opportunities will apply to both experts and those who are thinking of coming into the space, especially our youths. So Michael, please introduce yourself and then reflect on some of the opportunities you see.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm sorry, I'm still in the car again. I've been doing a road documentary through Enugu, and now I'm in Makurdi. I'm heading to Abuja. And my name is Michael Ajere. I am from Imo State. Also an executive director at the Pan-African Arts, Culture and Trade Institute in Toronto. I work in the creative industry, curating arts festivals, film festivals, music festivals. Like I said the other time, I'm also in the business of making money, from arts. I think it's an opportunity for everyone who's interested in the industry and passionate about how they can grow the creative arts sector, especially people who think they can benefit from various ways, including lawyers. I realize a lot of people don't see the need for lawyers to engage in this industry, but when it comes to contracts and helping to negotiate deals, it's very important that we have lawyers engage in this industry. We have social media content managers engage in this, because remember, one of the most important ways to, one of the fastest ways to sell your art these days is on social platforms. And you also have graphic artists, you have PR people. So these are people who may not be in the talent section of the industry, but can also benefit and partake in the industry, so it's just some of the, we'll look into, as we go on, we'll look into other ways that people can benefit, not just the artists, but people who want to engage in the business of the creative arts.
Okay, thank you very much. So let me go over to the commissioner here and ask questions about what you consider to be the opportunities in Imo State, and also given the fact that you are an artist yourself and what you've been doing so far.
Imo State is very rich in arts. But the problem we have is that most of our artists are hidden. I told you that we have a lot of art schools training artists in various areas of specialization: sculpting, textile, ceramics, graphics, painting. They are lying all over the place in Imo State. The only problem we have is to develop a rallying point for these artists to be noticed. And I was thinking the other day that to bring exhibitions for people to see the works of art that are turned out in Imo State, that we need sponsorship, because creativity, as a matter of fact, in this respect, is not government business. If you check what is happening in the Western world, you find out that creativity is sponsored by the private sector, trying to give back to the society what they are taking from the society. And here it is a different thing. So there are prospects, provided we bring the private sector into play to enable competitions in arts and then to finance art exhibitions so that the world can know what comes out from Imo State artistically.
Okay, fine. Before I bring in Dr. Jude Nzako, let's give Mr. Kelechi Amadiobi the chance to introduce himself. I guess he's a very popular artist and a reputable one in that regard. So, Mr. Amadiobi, do you want to introduce yourself and probably talk us through how you ended where you are?
Oh, well, my name is Kelechi Amadiobi. I like to call myself a storyteller. I started as a painter. Well, what do I say? I studied law in university. The usual, you know, in the 70s when parents said you had to study law or medicine or engineering. So I went to study law at University of Nigeria, but my passion had always been art. So I decided to get into painting. I left law school in 1993 and I became a full-time studio artist right from then. And as time went by, I discovered photography and I moved from painting to photography. So for the past 20 years or thereabout, I've been practicing as a professional photographer. But over the years, I dabbled into publishing. So I started publishing Mania magazine, which is a women's fashion magazine. So I'm known as a fashion photographer. Some people call me a celebrity photographer. I do quite a different, a very diverse kind of range of photography. But right now, it's what I do for a living.
Okay, great. Thanks for that introduction. So, Dr. Jude Nzako, I don't know if you have any reflections or questions you want to pose to our panelists.
Sorry about that, I was muted. I think at this stage, it wouldn't be a kind of question, but I would appeal that we try to extend the scope that the panelists have tried to define from the beginning. I say this because from their introductions, most of the people that would benefit from this program today are in the informal sector. And if we limit this discussion today only on the areas they have singled out, I think 3 areas they've said the German performing arts, visual arts. If we limit our discussion on those areas, then a lot of people may not be captured. So I would appeal that in today's market, we have a lot of artists in the social media, if we bring in blogging. So there will be a lot of opportunities in that. We have a lot of opportunity in the multimedia, the writers, the fashion design, all these are creative arts. And after all, the arts, the way you professionals define it, is the ability to create something of value. So we have a lot of people that we can capture from the informal sector and probably bring them up to the next level. I mean, a typical example there is Amadiobi. I have witnessed some of his work. In fact, he's I'm glad that he's from Imo State. He's a world-class artist. I've seen a lot of his work. I've seen some of his shows. It will be interesting to really see him in action. And here he's said to us his background is law. And you can see how he has migrated from law to what he's doing. So we have a lot of these people in the informal sector, and we can bring them in from today's discussion. And I'm also glad to know that we have a lecturer in this team today, because there's so much that we can bring in there. So I will reserve more of what I would like to say until we hear from other panelists. Thank you.
So maybe Dr. Jude Nzako, you may want to reflect on what you mean by the informal sector. I'm trying to get my head around it. So
okay.
Is it about the professional side versus non-professional side, or?
Yes, if let me simply let me assume that I understood what they meant by the informal sector. So if I apply that the way we apply it in business, these are people who probably not structured already. They don't have structured plans, or they're not trained. They haven't been to university. They are doing it on the road. They're doing it in such an informal way that they're not fully recognized as artists in the right sense of it. So these people, we see them everywhere. And most of them exist in villages, in our rural areas, but they're talents that we could nurture and bring them to the formal links.
Okay, fine. So I think it's clear right now. So let me turn to Uche here, and Uche Onumaju, and ask if there are opportunities there for people in the informal sector, as Dr. Jude Nzako has described, and also to think more about how money is made. Because at the end of the day, beyond the aesthetic value of art, the artists will need to make money from it. And then that act of making money can also be attractive to young people and anyone who wants to venture into this. So first question is, do you see a space for the informal sector, or how do we bring them on? And then the second question is, how do we make money through art?
Are you directing the question to me now?
Yes, Uche, yes, please.
Okay, well, just like I always say, art is diverse, and it depends on where you want to come in from. Like we said, the artists are the main factor when it comes to art industry. Then you go to the collectors, you go to the marketers, you go to the public, and those who organize themselves to really achieve all this and put this thing together to get what you really want to get and get to the informal sector, as you speak. For me, like I always say, art beholds what you feel, what your inner mind, tries to express to the public. It's just like somebody calling you calling yourself what you feel. That's what people should call you, and that will make you spur you into producing more good artworks and being steadfast in what you do best. The next stage is for you to hands down on what you are doing. Then the markets will start coming. First, get yourself acquainted with what you can achieve within yourself, because the talent is inside you, and practice what you preach and practice what you feel that is good for you. And you see yourself skyrocketing to the level that you so wish, and people will start appreciating your works.
Okay, thank you. Mikhail, I can see you're sitting in a very comfortable car, right? So, which means you're making a lot of money from art. So can you tell our audience how one can make money from art?
Okay, there are several ways. And like I said earlier, I would like to engage not just people who are the talents, but people who want to be involved in the industry, just like Dr. Jude had said, coming from the informal side of the creative arts. I had a personal experience years ago selling paintings, even though I didn't paint any of the works I sold. One of the reasons was because I always had passion for artworks. I had passion for colors, and I felt there was a need for people to distribute these works, because sometimes the artists themselves are not people understand how to market what they produced. So I looked at an avenue to make money since I was not painting, and I knew that I could engage people. I had a good net, I knew how to network with people. I decided to take the works around and sell. Then I was in University of Benin. I was quite young, so it wasn't like I was still a student when I started selling arts by other people. And I would sit with the painters, people like Alexander Shingo, KK Karenwe, Biodun Olaku, people, Some of them also, sometimes I had to travel all the way to Ahmadu Bello University. Sometimes I had to go to Auchi to engage with young artists and convince them to let me have their painting so I could sell, and they would make money and I would make money. So this was coming from someone who was not a painter. And eventually I graduated into curating arts, exhibitions, creating art programs, gathering people who were interested in art. So what I did was I tried to identify people who had interest in arts. At the point I even delved into people who did works with fabrics. So some fashion designers had created stuff, and I ventured into that. So I was able to identify people who were interested in that business. So for me, I think Imo State is a unique state, and then it's a state where you have a lot of creative people, people who can create just anything. One of the first things I would suggest we do is, like it said earlier, identify people who are talented in that field, and then also identify people who are interested in, collecting these things. So if we create a monthly program in Imo State where we gather, people interested, the lawyers, graphic designers, PR people, social media managers, researchers, people who want to research and see how they can solve the problem. So beyond the creative arts, we could extend or expand to creative thinking. So creative thinking now would mean that we would collect people who want to empower the sector and bring them together and let them thrive together. That way, if I'm a collector, I get to meet someone who makes the painting. I get to meet a lawyer who can help design the contract or write the contract. I get to meet the social media manager who can help sell my art online. I get to meet a PR person who can promote me, because you need PR to be very popular. Sometimes you hear about very, brilliant painters who you don't even know. And then sometimes you see painters who are not, or artists who are not talented, but they're extremely popular. PR is key. So as much as the young people are looking at selling their art, they need to develop a mindset of promoting on social media and a mindset of building a PR personality through PR. That would enhance, whatever aspects they want to do in terms of the commercial value of what they tend to get. So that's my own take. So,
Okay.
they are all interwoven and they can all work together to ensure success.
Yeah, just quickly, there was the point you made, and you said we need to create the platform. We need to maybe organize either conventions or conferences or exhibitions. That's the word you use. We need to do. And I'm just wondering, who is this we that will do this? So
you and I, Kelechi, both Kelechis and all that. So I would also be able to help. I'll be interested, once we decide to do it, I'll be interested in helping to set up the community, because like I said to you the other time during the introduction, I also work as a diplomat, and I can engage people who might be able to support some of these programs, because you just said governments don't have money, and I know the government in Africa usually are stingy when it comes to our creative.
No. Beyond that, the issue of government. I mean, it's about also who will take the agency here, or who will enact. And I see Honorable Commissioner, who is also very much in the space, and probably have identified an opportunity there for us to co-create what he has said here. So, so just again to mention that the platform, this opportunity here is not just about us talking, but also thinking about action points we can take forward from here. So, Dr. Judith Zako, you want to come in?
Sorry, as I keep muting myself. I liked what the gentleman there, I think Ambassador Paris, some of the things he was saying, because I take a lot of interest in community building. And coming from that angle, I believe that there are a lot of professionals on this panel today it will do Imo State a lot of good, and in fact contribute to the economic growth of the state. If after this discussion today, there's a platform can emerge from here where we can go into our local communities, because we can fish out these talents there. There are a lot that exists there that could be done to nurture the community itself. There are a lot of less advantaged people there, disabled people, little shows that you can organize in little communities that can raise money. And that, if we have that platform in existence, then the art or the creative art institution in Imo State will be able to claim its space in the ecosystem. Because at the moment, if we're not organized, we don't have that platform, then we're not going to be able to claim that. I could see from what the gentleman said that there's so much that can be achieved. There's a lot of value chains, and if people can identify where they can key in, the big ones, there are a lot of big brothers that can identify the younger ones and they help them to climb up. So everybody would not need to go to university to really become an artist. I can see a lot of opportunities in the rural areas if we can have this platform today as a takeout. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Let's come back to the money, because I strongly believe that money has a way of sustaining people's interest, although entrepreneurship goes beyond making money. So let me turn to Mr. Madobi here again. So is it possible to give us an idea of how much some of these artworks cost, and probably who you sell to? Who are the people who buy from you? I mean, not that's not mentioning names, but the type of clients you have. And if there are also emerging opportunities you don't want to take advantage of, which you can signpost to young people. So if you're an emerging artist, I see an opportunity there, I see this trend emerging, and encourage others to do so.
Okay, thank you very much. In looking at this, and I want to really look at the perspective of Owerri, Imo State, as our target area. If you're trying to find out, okay, how can people make money from art? They say art is priceless. You see, what they mean by priceless is that, it can go for anything, really. For instance, the time I was painting, before I stopped painting about 20 years ago, I was selling my paintings for about 2 million naira each at that time. So now I'm a photographer. I get paid a commission. I get commissioned to do photo shoots for as much as 10 million naira sometimes, on a daily basis, we do the odd 4 million and 3 million naira shoot, and that cuts across from commissioned work to corporate work to advertising. Now, if we put that in perspective, it's not good to compare. If you put that in perspective, the question then is, who are buying these works? Who are the kind of people that spend money on art? Now, if you come to Owerri, you will see that there is a very vibrant private sector. There is a very visible, real estate, trajectory that is an upward, trajectory. Every new house that is built needs a frame photograph, a family photograph. Every new house that is built needs some artwork in it. Whoever spent that money will most likely, if he is informed, pay for a good artwork. Everybody that is driving a Jeep can afford a photo shoot, can afford to pay for an artwork. So whether the market is there is a no-brainer. There is a market for art in Owerri. The first thing then to do is first to find those who are producing the art. Do they even understand that they can sell this to those individuals? Do they also have the quality of work that will attract the type of patronage we're talking about? So one, you need to train the artists first. I always tell the young artists, the first thing you need to do is to have a product. If you don't have a product, if you don't have a good product and you start to market it, as somebody once told me, the best way to kill a bad product is to market it profusely. So the first stage is to have a product that people want to pay money for. Then the second stage is to find those who will buy it. Now, on the stage of the young artists, they need training. After they get trained, they now need exposure to the right market. Now, that right market is a function of a culture, because collecting art is a culture. It needs to be developed. Now, it will be developed through a series of activities. While you're training the young ones to create art, you're going to be training your millionaires to understand what good art is and the value of art. So each art exhibition in itself, if you have an art exhibition, I'm going to have an exhibition in October in Lagos. And I've been working.
So why not in Owerri, Mr. Madobi?
No. Yeah, no, you're right. You're absolutely right. You know, it's something that we can do, but we have to have the infrastructure. Let me tell you, even in Lagos here, as big as Lagos is, I found it so challenging to get a proper space to exhibit my works. You know, so you need infrastructure. You need infrastructure. You need to spend money on infrastructure.
When you say infra, I mean, it's something we can explore. I mean, again, you're identifying an opportunity there, which I guess the Honorable Commissioner is listening, and Dr. Jordan Zaka as well. And it's something we can take offline and explore, because we need people like you to come to Imo State. Like Michael Parish said, oh, we need to organize some of these things. So here, I'm saying, I'm doing this, but it's a question of how can we now, again, the proverbial we, come together and make this happen in Imo State.
It can be done if you're looking for us to go to the nitty-gritty of it, for instance. You know, it is not difficult at all. We can say, you know what, let's start curating exhibitions. Can we find the best top 5 artists in Imo State that are resident in Imo State? And we're going to have an exhibition of this 5. Can we invite at least 100, you know, people with buying power and educate them on these artists? Let's have that exhibition.
Okay, fine. Let me go to Dr. Kelechi Obara. You are an academic, and I suspect, you know, very much plugged into the ecosystem in Imo State. So from where you stand, what do you see as opportunities? And Mr. Madobi talked about training. So I also think there is a place for the university in that regard. So how do you come in?
Okay. Well, thank you. I think the different panelists have made interesting submissions, but there's the danger again of keeping this conversation in the rarefied air of the elitist environment. I said something before at the beginning about informal sector. That informal sector is huge. Most of us who are here in the panel have already either reached the zenith of our careers or we have already established, but we are talking about young people. These are people who are trying to find a niche. Yes, in the academia, we do a lot of training, students. And it's something that, in fact, I keep using him, maybe he doesn't know, but I keep using him as a very good example. Kelechi Amadiobi is a very good example of somebody who came from outside the field and he made good. And today we still do it. In 4 years, we've seen students. In fact, a majority of our students, we have them. These are people that have no idea of art at all, zero idea. And in 4 years, we make them into very good, successful artists. Yeah, but the point here is, how do we harness the creativity that is right there at that informal level? I said, there are people who didn't go to school. They are roadside artists. We have states, we have carvers, jewelers, we have weavers. This is a whole lot, of creative talent that is lying there.
Well, let me put it in terms of in a practical way, Dr. Obara. What do you think is a way of harnessing the talents you've identified in the informal sector. So otherwise, we keep it at that theoretical level. So what do you think can be done from tomorrow or from next week in order to make this work?
All right, I failed to mention at the beginning, I think I straddle both worlds. I have been the secretary of the Society of Nigerian Artists, which is an official umbrella organization of artists in Imo State for the past 20 years. I'm also the chairman of Imo Artists Association. That's a larger body that now comprises of both professional or trained and informal artists. We set up that body. And I think one of the people I respect most now, a carver, for me, he's the greatest living carver I consider in the whole of Imo State. He is an informal carver, one Evans Osuchukwu. And I've tried my best to see, we tried to set up that platform in conjunction with the Mbari Center to see how these people's work can be showcased. In fact, I remember some years ago, there was even an experiment where a particular administration set up some export commission. And this export commission, all of us know now, for example, look at the area we're talking about where these informal people come in. When you're talking about tourist art, for example, when people come here and they come to Imo State, you want to give them gifts, especially these Westerners. What do? Oh, we head up to Ekote, we head up to Calabar, we head up to Bini to be able to buy something African. These works are not done by professionals or academic artists. This is the informal sector. And it's a huge area. I mean, it's a huge income earner for these states. But right here, we have very, very good artisans or craftsmen in Imo State. But the problem is they don't have this platform. So when we set up this Imo Artist Association in conjunction with the Center for the Mbari Center, we tried. There was an export commission. I think there were like 3 pilot projects. There's somebody that did a very beautiful bag. It was a carved bag. Another thing I remember, I think there was a walking stick and one other product. In fact, we said, okay, let's see how we can market this abroad. And there were a whole lot of orders. In fact, the problem is we were even trying to see how we could keep up with the demand. I remember that one handheld object like that, a carving. They produced almost like 1,000 and they spotted them and they worked well. I don't know what really, became of that, because I think after that, it was during one of the military administrations. After that administration, I think the whole thing fell into abeyance. Yeah, so what we are saying is that there are stakeholders, the gatekeepers of the creative industry right here. We are talking about these associations, the associations. We are talking about the arts department. We are talking about the museum. There's a museum here in Imo State. And then we are even interfacing with the Copyright Commission because these people need to have a way to have their, intellectual property to be, protected.
Okay, fine. Let's, in the interest of time, these are very important points you've highlighted. Before I go over to Dr. Jude Nzako, I remember Uche, the other day you said something about art galleries. What do you think will be a place for art galleries in helping some of the informal sector guys Dr. Kelechi Agbara has talked about? So do we have art galleries in Imo State? And do you see a prospect? Do you see any potentials for such in terms of as an opportunity area? So Uche, are you still with us?
Yes. Let me just come in here. My lecturer, my dear lecturer friend, you have spoken well. You just said my mind. Kelechi Amadobi just said something that really touched me. First, for me, I will ask us. Will I say yes? If you're in Lagos and your home base is over there and stuff like that, I can see you as a foreigner out of your own state. I would like us to have what I call homecoming. We who are old in this profession and who have excelled in our own humble beginning to the level we are in the world, I think we should come home once in a while, hold exhibition. Like I rightly said the last time, I made mention of, capturing one particular exhibition, to homecoming.
That was reflect on a question. I think, Prof, you asked that question. How do we harness the opportunities that exist in the informal sector? I want to make suggestions, and that suggestion, probably the Honorable Commissioner and Dr. Kelechi Okpara should please take note of this, because we need to move this sector forward in Imo State. The more I listen to our conversation here, the more I realize that there's so much in this sector and that we are neglecting a lot of them. So I think Dr. Kelechi Okpara, within the curriculum in the university, you can elaborate the curriculum to capture some of these people in the informal sector. It may not have to be a degree course. It could be 2-3 day or 7-day training where you can capture them and point them to the right direction. I think that will help to stimulate their interest, as well as pointing them to the right way to start earning a living from that. Because I see a lot of opportunities exist in our rural areas, and most of these boys got talent. And then the Honorable Commissioner, I think we will, my office probably work with you on this. We have to develop a compendium of all the areas that you classify as the creative arts. Because as we discuss here, I keep realizing there are so many areas that are there. The fashion designer, the people that make floral designs, those are creative. Because if truly the definition is to create a value that will mean something, then there's so many people that create values in our rural areas. Even establishing museums in our local wards, in our local governments. Art museums can help some people, even art libraries, art centers in those small communities. It won't require so much money. There are church buildings, there are local government buildings, there are local schools, where the local people can be encouraged to begin to develop these things. And that will begin to stimulate the interest in the sector. The economy will also profit from that. And then we say tourism, that will also help tourism, because people who want to go to those local government got something to look out for. So okay. I think I rest it here, but let all us.
Fantastic. It's also good to bring the churches. There are many churches now that can also benefit from the arts. So let's bring Mazi Okono. He may have a contribution, and I think I'm second guessing him, but I'll allow him to make his comments. So if you can keep it brief, Mazi Okono.
Thank you so much, Prof. I'm so much very elated to be part of this discussion. And just to lay emphasis and to be very quick, I remember sometime this should have happened about 10 or 8 years ago, when I noticed one of my junior cousins in Ikedu actually went into drawing. I brought him to Lagos. Kelechi Amadobi may not remember this, but I took him to have a master class with Kelechi Amadobi at Borogri Center or something like that. That young man today, in fact, he's a hyper-realistic artist that actually was engaged by the Academy, the last Academy Awards, if I share most of his works on Facebook. And that particular masterclass class was clearly a training that brought in this young chap and then brushed him into understanding what it means to actually take up, being an artist in the way that the professional manner that would, enhance his career. And it has so blown up as I speak. So I tally with what Dr. Nzako is saying. It doesn't need to be, it could be just a 2 days masterclass, a 3 days masterclass. We bring in these professionals and legends that are in the industry and have the younger ones, get into communicating with them, understanding and learning from their experiences. And then also now it could also feature some kind of incentive or kind of hackathon program that would, more further motivate them and provide them with key resources that they need, to be able to start harnessing their potentials. I think that is the very first way to start. And I also key into the earlier platform where it was said that we could create a platform, an ecosystem where these veterans are in, and then it can also be managed in such a way that it will inspire the younger ones to grow. So I think it's a very useful stuff. For me, creative arts cuts across not just painting, music, drama, storytelling, and we need to be able to, harness this, bring these people down to Imo State and have these short sessions that would inspire the younger ones. Thank you.
Okay, brilliant. And Mazu Kono is an expert in waste management. So I was hoping that you also talk about arts from waste, because arts from waste now are becoming very
exactly. So there is this young chap. There are these young chaps that are doing very well now. Dotun is in Lagos. Robinson Abinoro uses waste metals to be able to. Their works are fantastic, and it is these things are the things that we need to project to the younger ones to inspire them. As against going into certain things that we find them doing today, and they are predominantly materials that you get all across the environment and sourced at no cost. So I think clearly we need to be able to, and these people are going places globally. I know Dotu presented in Qatar recently, and his works are perfect. So I really align to that, Prof, that we should.
Okay, that's fine. So maybe what you can do, Mazu Kono, is also to draw up a competition for artists in Imo State to use your waste, the waste you generate, to create art. So that's an action point I will encourage you to take on and make it happen. Maybe you can work closely with Dr. Kelechi, but if you don't have his contact, my office can provide that. And let's make this things work, move from talk to action.
Awesome.
Mr. Madubi, I saw your hand up earlier on. I don't know if you want anything, if you want to contribute to anything before I move on to my Mike Parish, or maybe it's gone off now. Mike Parish, do you have any thoughts so far?
Yes, I like what Mazu Kono had just said. I think the exhibition Dotu did was in Dubai, if I'm not mistaken, because I saw it. I was impressed during the Dubai Expo, and it was I realized also from his contribution that we actually have not looked at that angle to grow resources for young people, because it's first of all you're able to collect creatively and then expose what you've created to the world as in art form, but for me it's also important that we, beyond our conversation, we just move forward into establishing those platforms that we've discussed about immediately. Start engaging these people and see how we can help them. Eventually, how we can turn around the creativity that has been inbuilt in them into the commercial value that we all seek. Because that should contribute to the GDP of Imo States. I don't know what the arts currently contributes to the state's GDP, but after this conversation, we really need to look into that so that we can proudly say our conversation, has resulted to something in future. Dr. O'Connor has talked about his relative who was doing well out of a masterclass he attended from organized by Kelechi Amadiobi. If we can also start discussing possibility of having such masterclasses in states this year, we don't need to start looking at next year. We should do something this year, and then we build a database of creatives in Imo State, from fashion, beauticians, sculptors, painters, digital artists, animators, graphic artists. Bring all those people together on a database. I don't know if there's an existing database currently in Imo State. If there's no existing database, we need to have that done immediately. That way we can also look at those we can help. Their talents, you see their works and you can refer them to clients and other people who might be in need of such talent. So that's I think we should look at it we should also take we should take these things into consideration.
Okay, brilliant. I think you've given us a task there, and my office would try as much as possible to coordinate. So with the Honorable Commissioner for Special Duties, as well as Dr. Jude Nzako. And when you come to you yourselves, this is a public pronouncement we've made here, so make sure we find ways to honor that. And of course, Dr. Kelechi Okpara and Mr. Kelechi Amadiobi, as well as Uche. This is a task we all need to now stand up to. So I think one area we haven't talked about this morning, and I'm happy for us to explore in a few minutes, is the digital side of things. So there are people now who are going into digital graphics. They are kind of digital natives. They are not trained as Mr. Amadiobi or Uche or Michael, but they are making money from it as well. So what sort of opportunities do you see there? Let me turn to Amadiobi here. First, maybe do you have a previous thoughts? Otherwise, what opportunities do you see in the digital technology space for arts?
Well, I mean, there is no end to this. The world is going digital, or has gone digital, as one would say. Even in my photography, when I started, it was analog. Now we're doing digital photography, and the potentials are endless. I don't know how to put it. First, there is also this new thing that has happened from the blockchain and called NFT, which is, I mean, it's exploding, non-fungible tokens where people create digital artworks online, and it imbues the property of uniqueness to a digital file that you would get from a painting. And these things are selling for ridiculous amounts of money. So it depends on how you manage it. And it does not have any geographical location limitations, So the digital side of things has to be explored. For photography, for instance, I do sell my works, my photographs, to global clients right from my bedroom. If people understand the vagaries of licensing and all that. You can put your image in an image bank as a photographer, and you are already making money. There are people now who are establishing digital galleries where people can go look at artworks, buy the artworks, and then it is delivered to them in real life. So the ecosystem for the digital world is limitless. And again, it provides a unique opportunity where you don't need to build physical infrastructure. All you need to do is to teach the people that, hey, this exists and this is how you can interact with it. Again, all those artists and creators need to be taught on how to promote their brand on the digital platforms. Again, we are coming back again to education. First, you educate. Second, you expose, and then you bring infrastructure to enable, So I do believe that that is an area that we cannot ignore. It is beautiful. You can actually make a leap forward ahead of other people who already have infrastructure by teaching people about how to mine the digital advantages that accrue to art.
I think I like your point about digital photo databases or something, or bank, right? I know sometimes if you're out and you want to do some slides or even some graphic works, you're looking for relevant pictures that will tell your story. So it could be big brands that want to depict Africa, or even publishers that may want to reflect the title of a book. So I remember doing a book on Afro-capitalism, and we struggled to find the kind of pictures that would depict African markets, right?
Exactly.
So, but imagine you had a database where we can go into, and then those, I guess people are paid some kind of royalty for having their pictures there. So it could be some people in Imo State capturing local scenes that they can upload and sell. So you don't need to be Mr. Amadiobi to make millions from the little bits. And then the other point is around animation. Animation is also becoming very popular. And those who have the skills or who have objects that can be animated can also participate and benefit from it. So time, as always, is not our friend. So we've got 5 minutes left. So I want the Honorable Commissioner just an opportunity to reflect on what you've had and what you think the state can do in order to support our colleagues who are working in this space, as well as create more opportunities for the youths. And with that, we can wrap up.
Prof, honestly, I believe that Dr. Jude and I have a lot of work to do. And we will include the Ministry of Arts, Culture, and Tourism as well, because that is where all these things are domiciled. But however, my interest is because I am also a practicing artist. A lot has been said. I have taken notes, but I want to let you know that even the government of His Excellency, distinguished Senator Hope Uzodimma, provided a gallery at Mbari along Ikenebu. We have an art gallery where works are collected. And as I speak, these works are to encourage artists in and around the world to bring in their works for people to see. But I think we need to go a step further. We have 27 local government areas. We can institute competitions in various areas of creative activity where we can get the government involved just to expose what we have at the rural area, bring them to the state, and then invite people to come and see. Like I said, dances, culture, artworks, and so on and so forth. We can do those in sections so that we can expose, because what we are suffering is publicity. There are artists, there are people who create, but nobody knows they are existing. So that's the area I think the government can come in and then bring some of these things out for people to begin to see. And then there is need to hammer on sponsorship. There are banks all over the place. There are industries. There are people who are doing well, who can finance some of these exhibitions that we are talking about. And even our brothers who are out there. Look at Ambassador Mikel. He's out there in the US or in Canada or somewhere. We need you. We need you. We need to work with you. Look at Kelechi. We need to work with all of you. You don't abandon the state. Please, we will, outside this discussion, get back to all of you and have, like Dr. Zako said, a platform or a roadmap to get some of these things properly articulated. And then we see how we can get the government involved, because this government is interested in empowering the youth through arts and through so many other areas of human endeavor. Thank you, and that's exactly what I think we need to do.
Thank you very much. Dr. Zako, you have 30 seconds. Do you have something to add to that?
I think the Honorable Commissioner has summed it all. I can only thank the audience for having the patience to explore the areas that we have, and let us please work to bring about the fortunes of Imo State to the global community. The digital world gives us an opportunity. We can create video games, we can animate photographs, and do all sorts of things and sell. And I'm glad that Amadiobi is also a lawyer, and his younger brother or elder brother is also a lawyer, so that he can take opportunity of the copyright issues here to make more money. And there'll be other lawyers in the state. So thank you so much. I will look forward to meeting you guys again.
Thank you very much, everyone. I think this session fits in well with what we did with the digital economy. We also looked at different forms of arts, including movies and music. So they've all come together very well. So next session edition will be on health, the business of health, because there are also business opportunities in that space. So I want to use the opportunity to thank the panelists, Ambassador Mikel Parish, Dr. Kelechi Okwara, Dr. Uche Onomajulo, and Dr. Kelechi Amadiobi. Thank you all. I also want to thank my co-moderator, Dr. Jude Nzako, as well as the Honorable Commissioner for Special Duties, Chief Dr. Okechukwu Anokwem. I also thank my team members, Jovita Agu and Adeza Shaheme. And I say good afternoon to everyone, and we meet you again in the next session. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.